Monday Night Football, Bills, Titans. Chris Brown, Steve Tasker with you. And happy to have back with us for his weekly appearance, NFL Network Analyst Michael Robinson. You got your water buffalo hat ready? Are we ready to roll here, Mike? What do we got going?
I'm ready to go, man. I feel like it's going to be an epic night for Bills Mafia. Let's get it.
Yeah, this is a game where these two teams play every year. Last 4 years they've played. They're not in the division together, but they seem to cross paths because of the way they've both been playing. They've been on an uptick the last 4 years. Playoffs all of those times, and most of those times anyway. And this is no different. The Bills win the first two. Now the Titans have won the last two. That game last year came down to a fourth down slip and, fourth down and inches call that didn't go the Bills' way. It's just one of those games that you feel like, Tennessee, this is their kitchen. They play in close games all the time. The Bills, they win going away a lot of the times. How do you think that plays out tonight?
Yeah, definitely you got to get your hands on Derrick Henry, King Henry. When you look at Bills Mafia, the Buffalo Bills defense, look at last year, that big 76-yard run, the fact that he had 20 carries, 143 yards, 3 touchdowns. So first and foremost, when you're playing the Tennessee Titans, it's all about hitting King Henry and getting him down to the ground and getting him hit or getting quick penetration before he gets to the second level, because when that guy gets to the second level, he's tough to tackle for not only linebackers but for definitely defensive backs and things like that. But when I look at this defense, obviously you got your Von Millers and Gregory Rousseau's on the outside. Now they're going to have to be playmakers. They're definitely going to have to be able to hold the point, hold the edge, not allow King Henry or any of the Titans running backs to get outside, but keep a free arm, right? They keep a free arm on the edge. They can be able to be a playmaker and make the plays. And then obviously, guys, I can talk about them every single week. But great defense starts with the defensive tackle position. You talk about Daquan Jones, you talk about Jordan Phillips, Ed Oliver, Tim Settle, especially a guy like Tim Settle who can come off the bench and still provide that penetration, still provide that quick penetration to stop King Henry as he gets through the line of scrimmage. So to me, that's going to be the key tonight. If the Buffalo Bills offense, if we can continue to put up points, score points, and put the pressure back on the Tennessee Titans offense and force Ryan Tannehill to try to beat the Bills with his arm, to me, that's when this game will be turning into the Bills' favor.
Yeah, Bills fans are a little concerned, with Ed Oliver out with the ankle injury.
Yep.
Tim Settle is doubtful with the calf injury. Looks like they're going to have to call some guys up from the practice squad. Brandon Bryan, a fourth-year player. Maybe Shaq Lawson, who's a good edge setter, is part of the equation tonight. But my focus here, Mike, is more on the mental philosophy and approach when you're playing a team like the Titans who like to muck it up. They like to muck up games. They're not finesse in any way, shape, or form. What kind of mental and physical courage do you have to kind of muster up to know you're going to be in a 60-minute rock fight with them when you're lining up against them on defense?
Well, I have to remind our listeners and our viewers and people watching this interview, it is football, right? This is a contact sport, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be ready for contact and be ready to have a physical encounter every single time you step on the football field. But at the end of the day, I would try to lean on kind of that Pete Carroll philosophy where we used to talk about is really not about them. It's about what we do. It's about how we operate. It's about how we operate our defense. It's about how we operate our offense and special teams. And I truly believe that if the Bills and Leslie Frazier's defense can play a little bit less two safety high, maybe one safety high, really insert that safety, whether it's Micah Hyde or Jordan Poyer, either one of them, both of them are great tacklers. Insert those guys in the box and make them playmakers, man. Send them on a weak side blitz sometimes, send them on a strong side blitz sometimes, just to mess up what's going on with the Tennessee Titans. But I started by saying it's really not about the other team. We used to always talk about it being about us. Now, yes, the Tennessee Titans are a physical bunch, but at the end of the day, if the Buffalo Bills go out and do what they do, this game won't be close. And I think if they have that in their minds, that is the mental hurdle, so to speak, or that's the mental advantage that I think the Buffalo Bills will have in this game.
In this game, how likely do you think it is? Because we kind of all see the game the same way. It's like the Bills should line up defensively to dare the Tennessee Titans to throw it every down. And you feel like the Titans line up and invite the Bills to take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands and hand it off every time. You know what I mean? So you can kind of do that with your defensive alignment. A light box for the Titans. You know, not enough guys play, looks like coverage, stays coverage, so invite them to hand it off to Devin Singletary, shorten the game that way. And on the Bills side, just the opposite. You got like 19 guys in the box, you know, say hand it off. You know what I mean? Is there a little bit of that?
I totally agree with you. I think it's exactly that. And I do think in years past with Coach Dayball that maybe the Bills would have forced throwing the football in those situations. But I do think what I've seen in week one and talking to guys up in there and hearing what Ken Dorsey wants to do with the football, yeah, I know it may be almost, you know, it may be almost taboo to take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands. But if a team is going to play two safety high and just say, hey, we're only going to keep 6 guys in the box, run it if you want to, I do think Devin Singletary and, you know, James Cook and those guys and then Zach Moss, they can win the game running the football.
So let's kind of look at this, because when it's tight, that's just where the Titans want to be. They love tight ball games. 6 of their 12 wins last year were by 3 points or less, including the one over the Bills last year. And the Bills have now won 19 in a row by double digits. So there's a different formula here at work for each of these two teams. We know Coach Vrabel likes it messy, and Coach McDermott would prefer they have their foot on the gas and run teams out of the building. I know you're sounding pretty confident that the Bills are just going to be able to take care of business. Obviously, the odds makers in Vegas agree with you because they're giving them 10 points to the Titans, which is rare, even for a Titans team. So what kind of gives you the confidence that it will play out the way the Vegas odd makers see it?
Well, a couple of things. First and foremost, I think, and I'm going to say we, guys. I mean, this is a team interview, right? This is this is all Bills Mafia, right?
Let it rip.
I'm gonna say we, okay? I feel like we got the baddest man on the planet at quarterback, and when you have one of those guys, there's only like 5 or 6 teams in the National Football League that can say and boast that they have one of those guys. I don't care if this is a perfect game for the Bills. I don't care if this is a messy game. I don't care what this looks like. I don't care if Josh Allen has to throw the ball 60 times or have to throw the ball 20 times. He's gonna affect this game in a positive way. He's going to be able to bring his team back if he needs to. He's going to be able to manage the game if he needs to, right? And then he has that running ability. And when your quarterback can run the football, it forces true 11-on-11 football. It forces true 11-on-11 football. Even the best defenses in our history, in NFL's history, always had an extra guy because they never really defend the quarterback. When you have a guy like Josh Allen, you really can't operate that way. That's what gives me the confidence. It does. And then at the end of the day, when you look at how Ryan Tannehill finished last season throwing picks, #1 seed, got out of the playoffs early. You look at how they lost to the New York Giants last week. Nobody gave the New York Giants anything. They thought they were going to be last in the division. Now the New York Giants are 2-0. They're looking to be formidable. But last week, at the end of the day, everybody in the world knew Saquon was going to get the football at the end of the game for that 2-point conversion, and the Titans knew it, and they still couldn't stop it. So all of those factors, yeah, I'm pretty confident that whether the game is close or whatever the case may be, I think the Buffalo Bills will end up the winner on tonight's game.
Yeah, and you think about how this league is going, and there's so much we don't know. Before the season starts, we all kind of project what the team was last year onto what the team's going to be this year, and most of the time it's not quite right, and sometimes it's really wrong. What did you see yesterday? They got teams. You got all these teams coming from double-digit deficits. The Arizona Cardinals did it. The Jets did it. The Dolphins did it. What did you see? What is your thoughts? The week 2 as it wraps up tonight, and with 2 games we have not seen. What do you think about the NFL in week 2 coming into the 22 season?
Yeah. Look, let me tell you something, man. And I know this doesn't bode well for us with this team being in our division, but that Miami Dolphins team, man. Just something about him. I've called Tyreek Hill the most important non-quarterback skill position player in the National Football League. I believe he is. I believe he means that much. And you see what he did to that offense and what he did to the Ravens defense yesterday. 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Just the space he adds to that offense, the space he's added to the offense has opened up more opportunities for Jalen Waddle. They're able to run the football because their play caller and head coach wants to be a physical group. And now you're seeing Tua being able to function in the offense. I still don't think Tua has the biggest arm in the league, but he is an NFL quarterback. He can get it downfield. He can get it to the guys. So just looking across the league, Miami Dolphins scare me, and they scare me because I'm a Bills Mafia. I'm a Bills fan, and at the end of the day, yeah, I'm going to continue to keep my eyes on those guys because they played a little beat up, but they played a really good Baltimore Ravens team, and, it was around halftime. I didn't give those guys a chance of winning, and they came back and won the game.
Yeah, and the Bills have the Dolphins next week on a short week.
Yep.
Question about that game, though. What the heck was going on with both defenses? I mean, he had almost 1,000 total net yards of offense in that game, Mike. What the hell was going on?
Well, when you have a Lamar Jackson, again, just like I just talked about our guy and Josh Allen, 79-yard run, to be able to throw the ball 79 yards, run the ball for a touchdown 70 yards, that puts a lot of pressure on a defense. That's scary. The fact that Lamar Jackson, who we already knew was an electric runner, put that 80-yard run out there on tape, defenses are going to back up even more. They're going to back up even more knowing that kid's that explosive. So I expect Lamar Jackson, if he's feeling good, if Greg Roman's feeling good, that offense is going to put up some numbers. But to see the mistakes that the Ravens did defensively with veteran guys on the back end like Marcus Peters, that was telling. I haven't watched the entire film. I want to check out Kyle Hamilton from a safety standpoint, and was it his fault on giving up some of those big plays? But yeah, man, that Baltimore defense gave up big plays late in that game, which again, I'm not accustomed to seeing a Baltimore Ravens team fold like that.
One of the most interesting games for me at the end of it was the way the Arizona Cardinals came back against the Las Vegas Raiders, and Kyler Murray put together about 3 or 4 plays in that game that were really unbelievably unique. I mean, he held the ball for like 18 seconds on one of the 2-point conversions and just wouldn't go down. He just hopped around. He's so fast. There's no defensive lineman, maybe in the history of the NFL, who could keep up with him. He's so quick. But and you know this, Mike, you've seen him. I've seen him up. The guy's 5'8". I mean, he is so short that you kind of get it when he runs around by. He can't see it. I mean, he's just too short to see what's going on in the secondary unless he lets it kind of develop and then hop around. I mean, it really turns into street ball, and he's so fast that, he just puts so much pressure on the defensive line and the secondary. I mean, at the end of this game, it was all him. I mean, that's why, you got to pay the guy. That's why you got to pay him right there. That in and of itself.
Yeah, and Kyler is, with his ability, he's always going to give you a chance if the game is close at the end of games. My question is, and my issues with Kyler come from, obviously, we can talk about the bad body language when negative things go on a play. That can happen from your franchise guy. Your quarterback is the thermostat for the entire team. If he is down, if he is negative, your entire team becomes negative. That's one of those that's with the body language and things like that with Colin Murray, number one. Number two, I do find Colin Murray getting in these situations where he's showing his ability to scramble around and create and things like that. But earlier in the play, if he had just took his 5-step drop and threw the out, that's the play. You see what I'm saying? Or if he would have just took his quick 3, let the ball go in the second window to the slant, that's the play. But again, a lot of our fans doesn't always understand offensive plays. So when they see him doing all of this, it's like, wow, this is amazing. It's pretty cool. But from a wide receiver standpoint, they're saying, but I was open when you hit your 5th step. And I think that's what we're seeing happening in Denver. That's why anybody that's followed me heard me say, I really think Russell Wilson and Coach Hackett and this Denver offense, they need the preseason because those guys on the outside got to get used to their quarterback. Even the guys blocking got to get used to their quarterback running around like that. So, it's a gift and a curse. But at the end of the day, Kyler Murray, he won the game for him.
Sometimes it's uncomfortable when you get in the next day and you guys go in to watch the film, and as a wideout, you're out there, and you're in a street fight with this guy, right? And you get open, and you're like, here I am. And the quarterback is like, I ain't throwing it to you.
I ain't throwing it.
It's an uncomfortable conversation in the film room. We're like, dude, that's what I'm there for. What
Exactly.
Like, what do I got to do? I mean, if you're not going to throw that, why are we calling that play? And
I've seen arguments happen that way in the big offensive team meeting rooms. The only thing is I don't know if you got to talk to Kyler with a headset and a video game on as opposed to face to face. Maybe you got to talk to him a different way.
I don't know, but you know what? It's
Got to
like.
get him on Twitch.
I had one of the all-time great. Now here's the thing, Mike. You know this. We say a lot about Kyler's body language and then the work ethic clause in his contract that they ultimately made public and then took out. I had a great quarterback in Jim Kelly. If you were out there standing open, he'd be like, man, I got to hit you with that. That was a great route. Good job. And that's it. Everything's diffused. If the quarterback goes, well, I would have thrown it, except that I had the offensive lineman had his. I don't want to hear excuses.
Just get me the ball, man.
Yeah, don't throw anybody under the bus. Just throw it. And that's hard to do. And I think that's where some of these young quarterbacks, that's where the disconnect is. When you get into film rooms, and that's where the wide receivers lose their minds. When week after week, he's standing in the middle of an open field after two guys are taking swings at him, and he's standing there getting open, and the ball doesn't get delivered. You got problems I got problems in Arizona if that's happening. I got problems in Denver if that's happening. I got problems in Seattle where that's happening. I got problems everywhere because that's when it all comes apart. And that's what you see when guys are on the sidelines in animated conversation / arguing.
I love how you put that. Animated conversations. I also say heated fellowship.
Right.
Ooh, I like that.
Fellowship with
Heated
attitude.
fellowship, man. We're just trying to figure this thing out, man. It just looks a certain way.
That's right.
You mentioned Jim Kelly, and you said Jim Kelly was the great one, right? That run and shoot offense. You mentioned if he missed you, he'd say, "I'm sorry." Yeah, that's a quarterback coming from a place of humility. I will find you next time. I messed up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But some of these quarterbacks in these days, they've been given everything through their entire life in high school. They've been given everything in college. They've been given everything in the National Football League. And so now, if they don't hit you, it's not their fault. Something else happened. Couldn't have been their fault. Again, to me, that's that's society. And
that's
the
not
young
just
person in
that's not
today's
just that's not
age.
just in this day and age too. That's happened all the way through the annals of the league. But that's what we're talking about though.
Yeah.
That's what it is to be a good teammate. That's why everybody in the room got a voice, because everybody's got a legitimate beef or not a beef. And it's to be a great one, you got to own your bad ones as well as you own your good ones. And a lot of guys don't get that.
Yeah. Last thing I got for you, Mike, is despite all these wild comebacks and everything, the game that may have surprised me the most was the shutout in Jacksonville.
Oh, man.
The Colts, I know they didn't have Michael Pittman. I know they're still getting used to Matt Ryan, but holy cats, like that was – I looked at that. I said, that's a final? What?
Yeah.
What? Now, I'm not dismissing Jacksonville. I just thought – I mean, am I surprised Jacksonville beat Indy? No, they're division teams. They know each other, all that jazz. We know Doug Peterson knows Frank Reich. I mean, those guys work together in Philly.
Indianapolis has struggled.
But shutout worthy? Like, that surprised me. What did you make of that?
Very much surprised. I had Indy as my dark horse for playing the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship. That don't look too good right now for the Indianapolis Colts. When you look at this team, before I saw the box scores or anything, I said, okay, 24-0. Wow. All right. Well, Jonathan Taylor had 100 yards, and they just had to get into a passing game because the defense wasn't there. Look at Jonathan Taylor, 9 carries, 54 yards. It's a pretty good average. So I'm like, wow. So just how did this game unfold, right? So then it led me to think, damn, Jacksonville is looking this good. How bad of a coach was Urban Meyer, man? Jeez. They brought in a couple of guys, but really the big change was the head coach. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Like, wow. That's where my brain went to. Damn, that dude. And then he still works on TV now. How bad of a guy? But anyway, that's where my brain went. And then I went and talked to some guys on that Indianapolis Colts team, talked to some coaches on the coaching staff. And what was told to me was Mike, those edge rushers from Jacksonville may be the best duo, tandem in the National Football League. And just because they don't hit home, just because they don't get the sacks, they are something to deal with. It takes 4 people to have to make sure and deal with those 2 edge rushers, talking about the other Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker that they just brought there. So, yeah, man, Jacksonville, they're on the up and up, man.
Yeah, you think, and the Bills found that out late last year. Those were the guys that didn't have an answer for, and they got, they lose a 9-6 game or whatever it was to Jacksonville in a shocker. And it really was. It was Josh Allen and the edge rushers that did it for him.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm going to try to pump us up one last time. I know you don't need pumping up because you're pretty confident. But Josh Allen in primetime games since 2020. Completion percentage, 70.1%. 26 total touchdowns, 6 picks, and passer rating of over 100. Does that work for you?
Yes, it works for me. Of course it works for me. And I expect to see this offensive line dominate. Hey, keep a lookout, offensive line. Y'all got Jeffrey Simmons on the other side. That dude, a real dude. He ain't one of these just fake old dudes that want to act like they want to rush the quarterback. He's a real guy. He had a couple sacks last year in the game. He also had a couple sacks last week. So keep an eye on that guy and that matchup. But I think if we can control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, skill positions are there.
All right, Mike. Thanks for catching up with us. We will catch up with you next week. Big Dolphins matchup down the line here, as we already talked about. So we'll catch up with you then.
Let's get it, guys. Can't wait.